Stop letting your mindset ruin your golf game. Today I'm going to answer 7 of the most common mental golf questions that I get asked. If you're like most golfers, you probably want to do one of 3 things: play more consistently, lower your handicap, and ultimately have more fun. Now, when you tap into the mindset piece, that's how you can achieve all those goals and a lot more. As Arnold Palmer said, success in this game depends less on strength of body than strength of mind and character. As a mental golf coach and a +2 handicap, I want to help your mindset fast. So today, I'm going to actually take you through some questions that followers and podcast listeners have submitted as their most common mental golf questions. When you follow these principles and actually remember to apply them to your game, I have no doubts you're going to achieve your golf goals and do a lot more on the course than you thought possible. The number one question I get asked is, why am I so much better on the driving range or the simulator than the golf course? Now, this is a good question, and if you're like most golfers, I know that you can relate. First and foremost, you have to remember that everyone, whether you're a 5 handicap, a tour player, everyone is going to be the best they are on the driving range. There's no consequences, there's no real worries out there. It's just a time for you to swing freely and really groove your swing. So everyone is going to be better on the driving range. Then the golf course, we typically are not as good as the driving range. And then you also have to remember, tournament rounds or pressure-packed rounds, we're not going to be as good as those casual rounds or the range. So that is kind of part of golf in general. However, a lot of people want to know why their range game is so much different than the golf course. And this happens for a few reasons. First and foremost, you have to remember that the driving range is nothing like the golf course. I'm at a great simulator here, but again, this is nothing like the golf course. I don't have any wind. I don't have to worry about bad lies. I don't have to worry about playing partners. It's just a very different environment. So I think first and foremost, you always have to just kind of understand that. But then we have to figure out how we can make our practice sessions better so they're more similar to the golf course. So the first thing I always recommend is make sure you're practicing your alignment and not always using alignment aids in practice, because of course you cannot use them on the course. So sometimes you want to use them, when you're getting warmed up, making sure you're good, but then you want to start going through your routine a lot more in practice and kind of walking into the shot. And then you want to record your swing sometimes to see what your alignment looks like when you're not using an alignment rod. I think this is a great way to make sure you're having effective practice sessions, because alignment is one of the biggest mistakes that most golfers make. If you're aimed way right or way left on the golf course, you're going to make some changes to your swing and typically not hit it nearly as well. Additionally, make sure we're spending more time at the short game during our practice. We don't rapid fire golf balls because, again, that is nothing like it is on the golf course. And make sure to go through your pre-shot routine. That way you go through it in practice, you kind of groove it, and then when you go to the golf course, it really helps it make it a lot easier and it feels like a range session. So make sure that 1, your alignment's dialed, and 2, practice your routine. So the second question a lot of people ask is, what does a good mental game look like? And I think it's a really good question because it is kind of individualized. Everybody is going to be different. But ultimately, the goal of the mental game is to help you stay out of stress and get in the zone. When you do that, you're going to play your best and you're probably going to have a lot more fun because you're playing closer to your potential. So you have to figure out what that looks like for you. And the easiest way to do that is to learn your mental golf type. Mental golf type is like a mental fitting. Just like you go get fit for your clubs, you need a fitting for your mind. Don't get me wrong, there's a ton of great tips in my book and on this channel about mental golf advice, but sometimes to take your game to the next level, it needs to be customized to how you're hardwired. So I highly recommend you take your free mental golf type assessment. I'm going to link to it down below in the description. And when you take that, you're going to learn a lot more about how you're hardwired and what you need to do on the course so that way you can stay out of stress and get in the zone. Third mental golf question I get asked a lot is, how do I stay focused for all 18 holes? This is actually a topic that I do cover in my book, Wicked Smart Golf, which is available on Amazon or Audible. But let's talk about focus. Here's the truth. You actually don't have to focus for 4.5 or 5 hours when you're out there. Instead, you need to focus right before your shot and kind of have a 1-minute bubble. So a lot of people think that, hey, I have to stay focused from the driving range all the way to the 18th hole. And it makes sense in theory, right? We want to be focused, we want to give it our best. But as you guys know, we have very short attention spans. In fact, we have pretty much the same attention span as goldfish. So we have to be very careful and actually conserve our energy. So in my book, I actually talk about you want to go wide and narrow. So as you walk into the shot, as you start to get up close to your golf ball, you go through your routine, you start to kind of laser the flag, get clear about the picture that you're trying to create. That's when we want to be really focused. Then as soon as you hit the shot, undo the Velcro of your glove, you start walking to the next shot, maybe you get back in the cart, then you actually want to go wide with your focus. Think about other things other than golf. Talk about sports, talk about family, talk about your workouts, talk about anything other than golf sometimes. And then again, when you get up to the next shot, you want to narrow your focus. So go wide and then narrow at different times so that way you can mentally recharge. Because if you are trying to focus for the entire round, you are going to be mentally zapped by the back nine, and a lot of times that's where that fatigue comes in. So don't be afraid to talk about other things in golf in between and watch how your focus improves. Next question is, how do I bounce back after a short missed putt? This is a great question because there's not much more frustrating than missing a short putt. And in fact, Dr. Izzy Justice, the author of Jira Golf, found that this has the highest toll on our brainwaves. Meaning, when you miss a short putt, you have a huge spike, and that is not going to help you on that next tee shot. So we have to figure out how we can calm ourselves down before we hit another golf shot, because otherwise you're going to have a lot of cortisol, you're going to have adrenaline, and you're not going to be able to swing your swing. And that's why, again, so many players are better on the range than they are on the course, because they just aren't having that stress that comes about during the round. So what you do after you miss a short putt. First and foremost, make sure to not personalize it. You're not the first person to miss a short putt, and you're not the last. One of the worst things that people can say is, I am a bad putter, I am a terrible putter. When you start to personalize it, it starts to become part of your self-image, and it's absolutely going to hurt your attitude and your ability to bounce back quickly. So please never personalize it. The second thing we have to do is take a big breath, or maybe do some box breathing, because we have to calm down as soon as we can, so that way we get to the next tee shot and we're closer to being 100%. Because if you're pissed off, you're throwing clubs, you're angry, you're going to walk to that next tee shot, and it's going to affect your ability to make good decisions and make a good swing. So we have to calm down, and that's where box breathing or just taking some big deep breaths can absolutely help. The third thing that you want to do is really slow down. Again, we have to calm our mind down and let ourselves know, hey, this isn't a fight or flight situation. We don't have a saber-toothed tiger coming to get us, because that's the thing. Our mind is always looking for threats, and when we get that upset, it's always thinking, what's wrong? What's going on? And so we have to calm down. So start walking slower. Take some deep breaths. Again, don't personalize it, and hopefully by the time you get to that next tee shot, you're going to be able to bounce back. Then on the green, on the next hole and the future holes, make sure you're dialed in on your pre-shot putting routine. Really get clear about the green read and go through your putting routine, so that way you're setting yourself up for confidence. Before getting into the next mental golf question, make sure to download my free mental golf playbook. It's 13 pages and includes some of the best chapters in my book to help you master your mindset. You can go to wickedsmartgolf.com/playbook or click the link down in the description, enter your email, and I'll send it your way. The next question I get asked a lot is, how do I stop blow-up holes? This is a fantastic question, because there's nothing worse than playing good, and then all of a sudden a double or triple just comes out of nowhere. It wreaks havoc on your round. It's easy to get super flustered. It can sometimes lead to another bad hole, and obviously it takes away from the fun that you're trying to have. So one, I think you have to understand that you're probably never going to fully eliminate blow-up holes, but there are a lot of things you can do to absolutely minimize them, so that way you can play more consistent golf. I think the biggest thing that you can do is, when you are out of position, ask yourself this question: how can I make bogey or better? Because bogeys are not going to kill your round like a double, triple, or quad. So we have to figure out how I can make bogey or better. Because when you get in that mindset, you're not going to try a hero shot. You're probably going to get back in position, and you might even save par. Start asking yourself that question and see how it helps. Additionally, make sure you watch this video that I did all about different strategies to stop blow-up holes. The next mental golf question I get asked a lot is, how do I have the right expectations and mindset inside 100 yards? In my book, I talk about this really being the scoring zone, because obviously inside that we have a wedge in, you have a lot more chances of actually making a birdie and hopefully avoiding some of those big numbers. But the problem is that I find is that most golfers play way too aggressively. So first things first, inside 100 yards, yes, you should have a lower scoring average than if you're 150 or 200 yards out. However, the problem I find with most amateur golfers is that you get way too aggressive. I know I've been there myself in the past. I used to just say, wow, I have a wedge in my hand, time to fire at the flag, time to make birdie. This is a huge problem because you're going into results-oriented thinking. Instead, we want to get really clear about our process, and I want you to make rational decisions. You have to understand that even the pros don't hit it nearly as close as you think with a wedge. When you're 100 yards out, if you can get it inside 20 or 25 feet, that is a win. But if you actually look at the PGA Tour, you will realize that even the best players in the world are not throwing darts all the time. So one, reset your expectations. Two, get really clear about your target. Hopefully it's more in the middle of the green. And three, go through your pre-shot routine. So that way you are committed to your process and you're not worried about the results. Hopefully you're going to get on the green, then you can go through your putting routine and give yourself as many chances as birdie as possible. But stop thinking so far about result and focus more on your process inside 100. Additionally, in practice at the simulator or range, hit some more knockdown wedges, get really comfortable with these clubs, and make sure that your wedges are fit for you. I see a lot of people playing wedges that are either too heavy or not forgiving enough, and it can really hurt your ability to hit more greens in regulation. So make sure your equipment is always helping your game. The final mental golf question I want to answer is, how do I play more consistent golf? To me, this is the holy grail of golf. Everybody wants to play consistently. There's nothing worse than shooting 79 one day and 92 the next day. So how do you play consistently? Here are 5 easy strategies. Number 1 is to use equipment that is fit for you. If all 14 of your clubs are helping and not hurting your game, you're absolutely going to play more consistently. The second thing that I learned from decade golf is to play one shot shape 99% of the time. Choose a fade or draw and never waver from it. Number 3 is to make driver your best friend. Practice your driver as much as you can because it's such a vital club to getting you off the tee and setting you up to win. The 4th, as we already talked about, is to have a consistent routine and stick with it. If you want to stop being a range player and you want to play more consistently, please work on that routine. And finally, make sure to reset your expectations. Look, I want you to play consistently as much as everyone else, but you have to remember that golf does have a lot of ups and downs. So if you do have some rounds where you shoot 75 and then 80 and then 82 and then 76, that is part of golf. If you want even more tips to play more consistently, make sure to watch this video next.